Hi guys, and welcome back to lesson 3 on algebra. So today what we're going to be looking at is on page number 8 of your notes, which should be looking something like this here. We're looking at simplifying algebraic expressions. So let's get started. So everything you'll need will be on the next couple of pages. You'll see the exercises here and you can follow along. So guys, in this case here, we're going to look at simplifying algebraic expressions. Now, remember an expression can't be solved, so an expression doesn't actually have an equals to sign. So we would have seen that in the previous 2 lessons. Expressions don't have equals to sign. And when I'm talking about simplifying them, I actually prefer to say tidy up. Basically, we're just trying to tidy them up, put them in their simplest form or smallest form or shortest form, whatever way you like to look at that yourself. Now, there's 2 very clear steps, which you'll see on page number 8. Step number 1, you want to remove any brackets if there is any brackets. And the idea with removing brackets, we were looking at algebra, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, and letters times letters. Step number 2 is going to be to add or subtract any like terms. Now, this is a little bit funny because actually we're going to be attempting questions first with step number 2, and then we're going to build our way up to step number 1. So we're going to start off with what like terms actually are. So what is a like term? I want you to make a little note, hide the word like term there. A like term is the same variable. And remember, a variable is a letter, usually X, Y, Z, A, B, C, anything like that, to the same power. So it's the same variable or same letter to the same power. So we want to add and subtract our like terms, but let's first look at like terms and make sure we can actually identify them. So we're going to come across the page over to exercise 3.1 and you're going to see a range of like terms. Now this question here, what it asks us is it says, state which of the following are like terms. So we're just going to say yes or no. I'm going to put a ticker in X. So my first one here is minus 2x and 3x. So what's the variable here? X and X, and both of them are to the power of 1. Remember, if there's no power there, they're to the power of 1. So in this case here, yes, these are like terms. They're the same variable or the same letter to the same power, so they can be added and subtracted. So again, going back to step number 2. My second one B here is 3x squared and 11y squared. So again, let's look at the variables. We have here x to the power of 2, and on the far side, we have y to the power of 2. Now, they're not the same variable despite these 2 variables being to the same power. So here we have x, here we have y. So no, they're not. I'm just going to say yes and no. C is next here. So here we have our variable. So what's my variable here? So we have p to the power of 3. And over here we have p, but p is to the power of 2 this time. So yes, it's the same variable, but they're not to the same power. So the powers are different. So no, they're not like terms, so we can't add or subtract them. Next, we're on to D. We have minus 12xy and 5x. So here we have x and we have x over here, but we have y here and we don't have y over the far side. So it has to be the exact same variables to the same powers. So here, no. That is not like terms because this one over here, this term over here, 5x, doesn't have a y. The last one here, E. We see a to the power of 2. And on the far side, we see a to the power of 2. Again, only a to the power of 2, unlike there wasn't a second variable in the mix here. So in this case here, both are the same variable and both are the same power. So in this instance, yes, these are like terms. Now guys, that's what like terms are. So this first part here, what are like terms? We now understand what like terms are. They're the same variables to the same powers. So now we can go about adding and subtracting our like terms. Again, we're trying to build this up step by step so we understand it. Now I want you to come across again the page over to exercise 3.2. Now for exercise 3.2, which you'll see on the board here, I picked out every second question. Again, we want to be able to give kind of a range or a variety of questions here. Now with this question here, what are we being asked to do? We're being asked to basically simplify. So we're being asked to simplify each of the following expressions. Now, notice there's no multiplication, nothing like that in this, no brackets, nothing, okay? So all we're doing is adding and subtracting. So still on step number 2. So simplify, add and subtract. So we can only add and subtract in algebra like terms. So let's identify the like terms. So A. So here we have 3x and here we have minus 2x. Now they're like terms because both of them have the same variable to the same power. Here we have 7y and plus 3y. So we're basically going to group them together. So we're going to have 3x minus 2x is going to leave me with 1x. And then we have plus 7y plus 3y is going to leave me with plus 10y. Okay, so notice then we're only adding like terms. On to C. So for C in this case here, we have 2a and we have minus 3a. So they're like terms. We have minus b and we have 4b. So again, they're like terms. So adding them together. 2a minus 3a is going to leave me with minus 1a. Now you can say minus 1a or minus a, whichever you prefer yourself. You do not have to place that 1 there. So we have minus b then and plus 4b. So again, if there's no number in front of that variable, what's there? It's technically a 1. Don't be afraid to place that in for yourself. So minus 1b and 4b is going to leave me with plus 3b. So I'll just put that down there, either plus 3b. And again, it doesn't matter if it's the other order around. So if I said plus 3b minus 8, that's perfect as well. On to E. So again, adding and subtracting my like terms. So what's my like terms here for E? We have 2x and we have minus 4x. They're like terms there. Again, same variable to the same power, all to the power of 1. And here we have plus 3y and minus 3y. So let's add them together. So 2x minus 4x, again, we're just adding or subtracting the number in front, is going to leave me with minus 2x. And here we have plus 3y minus 3y. Well, they cancel. That's going to add up to 0. So they're gone. Plus 3 minus 3 is 0. You can put down plus 0 if you want, but you don't have to. Now, the last one here I'm going to do is G. So for G here, again, similar idea. So we're adding and subtracting my like terms. So I see x. Now, I do see x over with my other terms. However, they're not the same power. This is x to the power of 1. So again, same variable to the same power. We can only add or subtract. So here we have plus 2x squared and we have minus 3x squared. So here we have x, nothing to add on there. And over here with my like terms, plus 2 minus 3 is going to leave me with minus 1. Again, you don't have to place that 1 there. X squared. Now, notice what we've been doing. I kind of jumped into that. We identified our like terms, okay? Like terms, same variable to the same power. And we added the numbers sitting in front, okay? So we added the numbers in front. Now, that's step number 2 done. So we've added and subtracted like terms. So we're going to now move on a little bit further and bring step 1 into the mix. So we're going to continue on here and we're going to be looking at step number 1 now. So we've continuously added and subtracted our like terms. We have that absolutely nailed down. We know what like terms are. We know how to identify them. We know how to add them together. We're adding the numbers or the digits sitting in front. However, now we need to go back to step number 1. Sounds a little bit funny, and learn how to remove brackets. Now, when we're removing brackets, really important points to remember is, and I'm going to keep saying this, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. Now, letters obviously variables, but just that's the first thing we need to remember. Now, we're going to do a couple of exercises. We're going to move to exercise 3.3 and just look at very simple multiplication of terms, okay? So terms with variables, same variable, different variables, and so on. So we're going to work our way down through this. Now, guys, in this case here, so let's look at exercise 3.3. And again, we're going to go for every second question to ensure we can do this. So here, what we're being asked to do is simplify each of the following and leave the answer in its simplest form. So in this case here, first one is x times x squared. Remember, and you might want to make a note of this, again, we're breaking everything down very simple. When we have brackets, brackets means multiply. Brackets means multiplying. That's really, really important for us to remember. So here, when there's no sign, first things first, it means it's positive, it's a plus. So plus times a plus is a plus. And actually, let's make a little note of that over here. When we're looking at signs, a plus times a plus leaves me with a plus. A minus times a minus leaves me with a plus. So same signs, always go positive, and a plus by a minus or vice versa will leave me with a minus. Now, that's a really important thing to remember because we're not going to be using the calculator when we have variables. So oftentimes, if I have students that are struggling with this, what I'll actually get them to do when they walk into their exam on paper number 1, there's a few little things I'll get them to write down, and that's actually one of them. Oftentimes, they'll put up their hand, they'll get that blank sheet of paper, and they'll note that down on the front page. So they have it sitting there for the entire exam. So signs first. Plus times a plus is a plus. When it's positive, we don't need to write that down. Numbers times numbers. Now, technically, when there's no number there, it's a 1. So 1 times 1 is just 1. We're going to leave this. And here it's variables times variables. So here we have x times x to the power of 1. Now, I'm making a little presumption here. We'll be looking at this a little bit more when we look at indices. But I'm making a little presumption. We've maybe seen this before. Now, here this is x to the power of 1. Remember, the no power shown, it's the power of 1. And when we multiply variables, what we do is we add their powers. So I'm going to write that in on the left or the right hand side here. So we add the powers. Powers, index, whatever you want to say. So we're going to add their powers. So when you multiply variables, you add their powers. Write that down for yourself. So here we have x to the power of 1 times x to the power of 2. So here it's as simple as this. That's x to the power of 1 plus 2. We're literally adding the powers is going to give me x cubed. So when we multiply variables, we add their powers once they're the same variable, obviously. Coming down as far as C. So we're going to get a little bit more complicated each time. This time we're bringing in numbers into the situation. So signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters, signs. Plus by a plus is a plus. Don't need to write that down really here as such. Numbers times numbers is next. We have 4 times 3. Now 4 times 3 is going to leave me with 12. So numbers times numbers. Next, letters times letters. B to the power of 4, B to the power of 3. Same base, same variable, base or variable, and again, 4 and 3. So we multiply variables. If it's the same variable, we add their powers. So this is going to be B to the power of 4 plus 3. So this is going to be 12B to the power of 7. Okay? Again, I'm trying to place this step by step for you so that you can see it. Moving on to question E. Again, every second one, and you have all the solutions there for yourself. So here for E, getting a little bit more complicated here, guys. We're moving up in the world. So again, we have 3 terms here are multiplying by each other. So signs times signs, numbers times numbers, and letters times letters, or variables times variables. So let's actually start off a little bit simpler. Let's only deal with the first 2 terms here. Some students, they'll try to get to the answer at the end and then they'll get it wrong. Whereas if you can show steps, you're going to get marks along the way. So I'm going to ignore the 3A down here. I'm just going to keep driving it down for a second. And I'm going to start off with the first 2. So here we have signs times signs, minus by a minus. Now remember, minus by a minus is going to leave me with a plus. So I don't have to put the plus down, but if I want, I can place that plus down. Numbers times numbers. We have 5 times minus 2. 5 times minus 2 is going to leave me with 10. Sorry, I shouldn't say minus 2. 5 times 2 is 10. And finally here, the last part is my letters or variables. We have a to the power of 2 and a to the power of 1. Remember, when we multiply the same variables, we add their powers. So here, a to the power of 2, a to the power of 1, 2 plus 1 is a to the power of 3. Close my bracket. Now, that plus doesn't really need to be sitting there, kind of just causes a distraction, so I'm just going to take that away. So that's my first 2 terms multiplied by each other, bringing down this 3A next. So next what we have is we're going to multiply this 10A cubed times 3A. So again, signs times signs, plus times a plus is a plus, not going to write it down this time. So numbers times numbers, 10 times 3, 10 times 3 is going to leave me with 30. And letters times letters. So a to the power of 3, a to the power of 1. So here, that's going to be a to the power of 3 plus 1 is going to leave me with 4. Last 4 examples here for this question is G. Same idea as before. So we're going to take the first 2 here. I'm actually going to place a bracket around this. Again, it's multiplied anyways. We're going to multiply the first 2 terms and then we'll work on the last one down here. Again, it's easier just to go step by step. And it usually stops people making blunders and gets them more marks. Signs times signs, plus times a plus is a plus. That's absolutely fine. That's done. Numbers times numbers. 2 times 4 is going to leave me with 8. And finally, letters times letters. Now here, this gets a little bit more complicated because we have more than one variable. You'll see A, B here, and you'll see B over here. So again, we multiply the same variables one by one. So this is A times, there's no A over here, but this is technically, 2A times 4. It's going to give me 8A. So it's still A to the power 1. But when I look at this B here, this is B to the power 1 and B to the power 1. So B to the power 1 times b to the power 1, again add my powers, is b to the power 2 or b squared, close my bracket. Bring down my minus 3. So again, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. So here are my signs. We have a plus times a minus. Plus times a minus is a minus. Signs done. Step 2, numbers times numbers. 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is going to leave me with 24. And finally, letters times letters. So here we have the variables ab squared and we have no variables over here. So again, this is just 8ab squared times minus 3. So it's just going to be ab squared. That's not going to change at all. Now, what we've done there is we've multiplied basically signs, numbers, and our variables or our letters. So now we're going to combine step 1 and step 2 together. So getting everything placed back together. So we're on the last step here where we're removing our brackets and we're going to be adding and subtracting our like terms. But exercise 3.4, which you'll see over on around page 18, 19 there, we're basically looking at expanding brackets here. So you're going to see that there. A lot of students get very caught up with this. We're going to break it down. So here for exercise 3.4, what we're asked to do over on page number, and apologies, I said 18, 17, is we're asked to expand or remove the brackets and simplify each of the following expressions. So let's take a little look. So for A here, so we want to remove the brackets and then add and subtract our like terms. So we have this 3 here, this term here, sitting outside that bracket. So 3 bracket 5x minus 1. Now what that means is that number 3 is actually multiplied by everything inside that bracket. So first I'll look inside the bracket. Can 5x and minus 1 be added together? Can I simplify that anymore? No, I can't. They're not like terms. But this 3 is multiplied by everything inside that bracket. Now that means that that 3 is multiplied by the 5x first of all. So let's take a look at this. Numbers times numbers, letters times letters. 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. 3 times 5x is going to give me 15x. But that the 3 is also multiplied by the second term inside that bracket, that minus 1. Again, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. So here, signs times signs, we have a plus times a minus, gives me a minus. Numbers times numbers, 3 times 1 is 3, and there's actually no variables there. So here we have 15x minus 3. Again, 3 times 5x gives me 15x. And 3 times minus 1 gives me minus 3. Moving on to C. So here we're going to see C gets a little bit more complicated. Again, we're trying to build up our knowledge here. So outside this bracket here, we see 2y. It's 2y times y squared minus 4. Again, that 2y that's sitting outside that bracket is multiplied by everything inside the bracket. Can you simplify inside the bracket? No, unfortunately you can't. So this is 2y times y squared. And then 2y times minus 4. So we're going to remove the bracket and then we're going to add and subtract our like terms here if there are any. So remove the bracket first. Signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. Plus times a plus is a plus, don't need to write that down. 2 times, if there's no number there, remember it's 1, so 2 times 1 is going to leave me with 2, and letters times letters. Y times y squared, again y to the power 1 is there, so add my powers, that's going to give me y to the power 1 plus 2, 3. So when we say 2y times y squared, we get 2y cubed. Next, we're looking at 2y times minus 4. So we have plus times a minus is a minus. 2 times 4 is going to leave me with 8. And 2y times 4 is going to give me 8y. And that there is my answer. So we multiplied out the brackets, and again, notice there's no like terms, so I can't simplify it any further than that. Next over here, and there's going to be both step 1 and step 2 here for the first time, we have 3 times x plus 2y plus 2 times bracket 3x plus 4y. Notice there it's kind of like we basically combined what we've done in the last 2 questions into one. So we're going to start on the left-hand side and then we're going to go to the right-hand side again, step by step. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see this 3 bracket and then you have x plus 2y. So you want to multiply by this 3 times everything inside the bracket, step by step. Signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. I know I'm like a parrot. So here, plus times a plus is a plus. Don't need to write that down. And again, there's no actual number there, so it's going to be 1. So 3 times x is just going to leave me with 3x. We can speed up a little bit now. So here now, this 3 times the second term, which is 2y. Plus times a plus is a plus. 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. And 3 times 2y will give me 6y. Now that's the left-hand side sorted out. Let's pop over as far as the right. So here we have plus 2. So this plus 2, bracket 3x plus 4y. So this plus 2 is multiplied by every term inside that second bracket. So let's take a look. Plus times a plus is a plus. 2 times 3 is going to leave me with 6. And 2 times 3x is going to leave me with 6x. That's 2 times my first term inside the bracket. Finally, 2 times my 4y. 2 times 4 is going to leave me with 8. And 2 times 4y is going to leave me with 8y. Now, that's my brackets removed. That is step number 1 done. However, when you look here, is there any like terms? Can I go with step number 2, adding or subtracting my like terms? Yes, I can. Like terms, same variable to the same power. So what do we have? You can see you have x to the power of 1, and over here, x to the power of 1. You also have y, and y, again, both in y's are also to the power of 1. When it's not shown, it's to the power of 1. So here, let's add my like terms, my 3x and 6, add the numbers in front. 3 plus 6 is going to leave with 9, so 9x. And we have 6y and 8. 6 plus 8 is going to leave with plus 14y. Now that's step number 1 done. And step number 2, we've now learned to remove our brackets and also simplify. Let's go into expanding brackets. That's maybe a little bit more complicated than what we see here. Let's move. Okay, moving back, or across I should say, over as far as page 18, we see a couple more complicated, I'm going to say, removing the bracket or expanding bracket questions. But we're still using the same steps, but we do need to look at questions such as this one here. So here you see an expression times an expression rather than just a term sitting out in front. Now what's really, really important here when we're expanding brackets like this is that everything in the first bracket needs to be multiplied by everything in the second bracket. So how we go about it. Now you may have multiple ways of doing this that and go with whatever you're comfortable with, but don't overcomplicate it. So everything in the first bracket times everything in the second. So let's take the first term in the first bracket here. That first term in the first bracket, 3x. And let's multiply it by everything in the second bracket. So we're going to say 3x times 4x and 3x times minus 1. So let's start off with that and then we'll come back over to this term here. So again, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. You're well used to that now. So we have 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is going to give me 12. And here, x times x is going to give me x squared. Then we have our 3x times the second term, which is minus 1. Plus times a minus is a minus. 3 times minus 1 is going to give me 3. And 3x times minus 1 is going to give me minus 3x. Now that there is the first term times everything in the second bracket. So now let's look at the second term in that first bracket. So this second term in the first bracket needs to be multiplied by everything in the second bracket. So minus 2 times 4x and minus 2 times minus 1. So here, signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. So minus by a plus will give me a minus, and 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 times 4x will give me 8x. Minus 2 times minus 1. Minus by a minus gives me a plus, and 2 times 1 is 2. Now that's them brackets removed. Again, step number 1 done. Now let's check, do we have any like terms? So any variable, it's the same power. I have x squared, but I have no other x squared. But I do have a minus 3x and a minus 8x. Again, x to the power of 1 for each. So let's tidy it up. I now have 12x squared, and I'm going to subtract these. Minus 3x minus 8x is going to leave me with minus 11x. Bring down my plus 2. That there is it simplified. And that's my answer. Let's do 2 more of these. Let's move down a little bit further and let's go as far as I. Now for I here, very similar to the previous one. So we have 8x minus 2 and x minus 1. Everything in the first bracket times everything in the second. So let's take the first term in the first bracket, and multiply it by everything in the second bracket. So here I have 8x times x. So 8x times x gives me 8x squared. We'll speed up. And 8x times minus 1 plus times a minus is a minus. 8x times 1 gives me minus 8x. Again, anything times 1 gives itself. Then we have this minus 2, second term in the first bracket, times everything in the second. So times x and times minus 1. Minus 2 times x gives me minus 2x. And minus 2 times minus 1, minus by minus is a plus, and 2 times 1 is 2. My like terms here you'll see is minus 8x and minus 2x. So I'm going to have 8x squared minus 8x minus 2x, again, like terms, is going to give me minus 10x. Don't get confused with multiplication and addition and subtraction, totally separate. And then bring down my plus 2. And that's that in brackets expanded and then simplified. Last one here. The last one's very important because this is also one that actually shocks me. Okay, it's when you have an expression all squared. Now, the big mistake students make here, and I remember correcting the junior cert, Jesus, it probably is about 8 years ago, 9 years ago when I actually first corrected. And it was actually junior cert maths I first corrected. And straight away, I'm going to say at least every second paper with a particular question, students had actually gone, okay, 2x to be squared gives me 4x squared, 3 squared gives me 9. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what? Like, it was actually, like, my blood pressure was rising because I was thinking, students know what this means. When something is to be squared, so for instance, if I say x squared, you tell me that's x times x times itself. If I said to you 9 squared, you tell me, well, that's 9 times 9 and 81. You'd say it's that times itself. So why is this different? Why are we individually squaring the numbers? That's wrong. Here, this means everything inside that bracket times itself. The individual terms are not squared. The expression is. So this here, and this is very, very important, put a star beside this one, actually means everything inside this bracket, 2x plus 3 times itself, 2x plus 3. Please, you will see that on your paper, okay? You may not even realize it, but in some place it will be on your paper, whether it be a mock exam or it be your Leaving Cert exam in June. Same idea as before, everything inside this bracket times everything inside this bracket. And again, some students go, but they'll give you the same answer. No, they won't. Let's take a look. So we have the first term in the first bracket times everything inside the second bracket. So here we have 2x times 2x is going to give me 4x squared. 2x times 3 is going to give me, 2 times 3 is going to give me 6x. Second term in the first bracket, 3 times everything inside the second bracket. So here we have 3 times 2x is going to give me plus 6x, and 3 times 3 is 9. It's looking different, isn't it? Like terms, I have x to the power 1 there twice, we'll mark them off. So we have 4x squared, it has no like terms, plus 6 is going to give me plus 12x, bring down my plus 9. And that there is my answer. Now, just to go back of what we were aiming for here, and I know this lesson was slightly longer than ones before, but we were simplifying algebraic expressions. We started off here by looking at our like terms. Do we know what a like term is? Because if you don't, that's where you have to start. Then we looked at how we add and subtract them. We add and subtract basically the number sitting in front. The variable doesn't change. We then looked at removing brackets on its own, and we said signs times signs, numbers times numbers, letters times letters. Remember, letters, variables. And we said when they're the same variables, we add their powers. And then we looked at combining it all together in expanding bracket questions like this one. Now, guys, that is the end of quite a long lesson, I do know. Lesson 3, simplifying your algebraic expressions.